2 years, so relatively new, relatively new.
My name is Shelley and I've been here a year.
Great. 4 years. Great.
So I've been here 16.
Wow.
Name is Joe, I've been there 6.5 years.
6.5 years. Excellent. Excellent. Dave? They built it around Dave. Great, excellent, excellent. Well, that's great. And then you're gonna introduce who we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you'll get to hear some more from Peter shortly. Hey, all, I really appreciate you coming out this evening. I know that some of you came out this morning as well. But for those of you who don't know, my name's JD. I am the Director of Development here at the Housing Authority. And I'm excited this evening to offer you some project updates. And we're also going to hear some more from Peter Leveby, who's with our co-developer Brenshore, and kind of give an update on design and scope, what that's looking like. And then we have these lovely folks from Housing to Home, who are going to spend a lot of time talking through the relocation process. And the illustrious Jamie Neufeld will be providing a bit of I guess we're calling it a Housing Choice Voucher 101. So we know that a lot of you are interested in knowing more about housing choice vouchers and how you may be able to use them as part of the relocation. And Jamie is our Director of Rental Assistance, so she is our expert on all things vouchers, and we wanted you to get a bit of a one-on-one on it, and it'll help you make some decisions as you engage with the Housing to Home folks. So with that, I'm going to jump in. I know a lot of you want to hear about relocation, so I'm gonna try to keep the other parts as short as possible. So normally I go around and have all the RHA staff introduce themselves. We're not gonna do that. Instead, can we have all the RHA staff hold up their hand, just so folks can see? We've got leadership, we have Deputy Exec, Heidi gets a mention because she's our Deputy Executive Director, and she's done literally everything in our agency. And Hillary is on her way as well. And as you can see, we have a lot of folks from rental assistance, we have folks from resident services, asset management, and our development department. So we at the agency very much want this project to go smoothly, and we want to do right by you when it comes to relocation. So with that, I'm going to offer some quick updates and then turn it over to Peter for some more specific project updates. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, do you mind driving in?
Uh-oh.
Thank you. All right, so the first and foremost, the last time that we met with you all in November, we were still waiting to receive our official HUD approval for Section 18, which is the process that we are using to convert this from a public housing, affordable housing development to LIHTC, tax credit, affordable housing development with project-based vouchers. You don't have to remember any of that, other than to say that we have gotten that approval. So in early March, HUD approved our Section 18 application, which means that we have the go-ahead from HUD to move forward with this project fully. We can begin relocation. It was the holdup why we were not able to have you start meeting with Housing to Home earlier in the year, was because we had to wait for this approval before relocation conversations could really start happening. So that happened in early March, and that is why Housing to Home has folks hired up and on staff to start working with you. So we have that. We also have hired, like as I said, Housing to Home has hired the on-site staff that will be here, the full-time person who will be here on site to work with all of you. You have been mostly seeing Katie. Katie had come in. Katie's one of the founders of Housing to Home. But now that we're moving along in the project process, we have on-site staff that you'll get to work with on a day-to-day basis. And then Peter will talk about this a little bit more detail. We are full steam ahead in terms of finalizing design, getting things ready to submit for plan review. pulling all the rest of our financing together, and we have some real critical steps up ahead of us in the next couple of months. But all of that is headed towards a construction start at the beginning of fall. So we're looking at a September, October construction start. And it's about a 2-year process. So we're looking for this redevelopment to be completed by fall of 2026. And then just as a reminder, on our website, we have a ton of documents, a ton of additional information related to this project. On our website, we specifically have a webpage for our preservation and repositioning. So if you're interested, RHA staff member can show you where it is, and you can download hundreds and hundreds of rather boring documents. If you have trouble falling asleep, I recommend it. There's a lot of HUD language in there, but if you're curious, it's there, and we're happy to show you where all that information is. And then, in terms of RHA leadership, folks that you can. Am I going back?
Sorry,
You're good.
it's,
It's had a mind of its own.
yes, I'm sorry.
It's a scary sound. There we go. Okay. So in terms of RHA leadership, as I said, this is really an agency-wide project. Everyone's touching it in one way or the other, but folks that you can look to, or if you have questions, please come and connect with us. One is myself, JD Klippenstein, the Director of Development. 2 is Heidi McKendry, our Deputy Executive Director. And as I said, Hillary Lopez, our Executive Director, who I believe is on her way. We would be more than happy to connect with you if you have any questions around the project. Wanted to make sure that you could put a face to the name. And if you have really specific questions, some of you have already taken advantage of this, which is fantastic. Please feel free to send us an email at hvproject@reno.ha.org. That comes straight to me and the development team. We then, depending on what kind of question it is, we'll connect with Housing to Home, or we'll connect with someone else in our agency to make sure we get you the right information and get that back to you as soon as possible. There's also a phone number you can call. I believe this was on the notice that invited you to this meeting, and I imagine it's also on several of the other documents, but we'll leave this up for just a couple of seconds so you can write down the contact information if you'd like. See someone writing, so I'm gonna wait till they're done. Cool. All right, let's go ahead. We're gonna kick off. I'm gonna hand this over to Peter Levy from Brenshore.
Thank you, Diddy. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and for allowing me to meet with you. I just want to tell you that when we do a redevelopment project, we do it for you, not for me. So it's really important that I get to put some faces together with my idea of what it is we're doing with the RHA. So when I ask you how long you've lived here, what your hopes and dreams are, I'm serious about this. I really want to hear from you guys about what's great about this place, what needs to be changed, what could be improved, all of that. And we really care about your input. So thank you for having me. And I just want to tell you, my name is Peter Levy. I'm an Executive Vice President of Brenshore Development. It's a company based in Evanston, Illinois, which is essentially Chicago. And we've been around for almost 30 years. I've been doing affordable housing development since 1986. And I've been working with housing authorities since 1997, helping them reposition their existing stock. Sometimes like this, taking it down to the ground and building a new, beautiful mixed income development, and sometimes renovating existing properties. And we're doing both of those with the RHA. We're doing a demolition, new construction here, and in Silverado, we're doing a renovation. So our work is focused in Chicago, though we're working across the country in 20 states. How many of you saw Good Times back in the 80s? Is that something that, okay. So if you remember that show, we're the redevelopment arm of the CHA for the Robert Taylor homes, Cabrini Green, and Henry Horner homes. So everything that you saw with JJ and all of that, those are the projects that we're working on. Robert Taylor Homes was the largest public housing project in the United States, 4,321 units in 16 18 identical 16-story buildings over 100 acres. And we've built back many, many phases of redevelopment there and at Henry Corner, where Oprah Winfrey starred in the movie. There are no children here, and the book by Alex Kotlowitz. We've built back 8 phases of redevelopment there, over 1,100 units in that development. And that's just to tell you just a little bit of the kind of work we've been doing for the last 25 years, which is identical to what we're doing here in Reno, where we're taking our public housing project down to the ground, talking to people to find out what the best thing is to put back in its place and building a brand new, beautiful development that'll take the housing authority into the future. So we work in 20 states. We're in Eureka, California, and Salt Lake City, and Denver, Colorado, Waco, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, Columbia, South Carolina, as well as all over the Midwest. So we're in Kansas City and Omaha, Nebraska. We're in a lot of places, but I'm beginning to love Reno. So this is a great place, and I think this is a great team. I know working with the RHA, it's been really, really a wonderful experience. Okay, next slide. So just to take you through the timeline a little bit, as JD said, we did something called a Section 18 approval. That's a fancy way of saying we got approval from HUD in order to both demolish the development here and to take the land and turn it over to a new owner to redevelop the site into a new development. So that process has now happened. We're in the process of securing financing. Later this month, we're going to be submitting an application for tax exempt bonds and low-income housing tax credits to the state, which is a really critical piece of the puzzle of getting the financing in place. And then we will close on the financing, hopefully in September of this year. And as JD said, it'll take about 2 years to do the construction. So I'm here to tell you that we're going to be starting tenant relocation to allow for the demolition and new construction to take place. The folks here are going to tell you more about relocation. That's not our job. We're here to just tell you about the project itself. And I just want to say that despite the fact that you're going to be permanently relocated in through this process of relocation, we plan on giving you guys an opportunity to come back to the redeveloped site. I think it's really important that the people who live through the development as it is now have an opportunity to benefit in the future if you want to come back to the site. Next slide. So in addition to building 7 buildings, which will have 199 units, which is twice the density that we have today, we will also be building a brand new community building that will have lots of amenities that are great, like a community room and a computer lab and exercise room and all kinds of other things that will really be an amenity to the development. We will be building tot lots. Yeah, and the community building will be in the center of the community. There'll be 7 buildings around 2 nodes in the north and the south, and around courtyards. And those courtyards can have tot lots, they could have playing fields, and we'll be talking to you guys about what you'd like to see in the way of amenities on the site as we move forward with the plans. There are going to be 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments with a mix of 72 1-bedrooms, 102 2-bedrooms, and 25 3-bedrooms. And there will be both flats and townhomes. Townhomes are units that have a downstairs with a kitchen, living room, dining room, and then stairs up with bedrooms upstairs. And flats are all on 1 floor, and those will be 3-story units where there'll be a first, second, and third floor of flats. There'll also be parking 1 for 1 at least. So we know that's going to be more than adequate to meet the needs of both the future residents and any visitors that you'll have coming to the site. So just to take a look at what the buildings could look like, we're in the process of designing this right now, but This gives kind of an idea of the open, glassy, upbeat feel that we're looking for on the development, something that feels very friendly and something that you're going to want to spend time in and use and feel very proud of for the community center. And then to go to the buildings. So these are the flats, so you can see that there's a ground floor and then a second and a third floor with balconies. They're very upscale looking designs. This is designed to be a mixed income development, and we are shooting for the highest common denominator, not the lowest common denominator. We want this to be an attractive development that everyone's going to want to live in for the next 50 years. These are the townhomes, so you can see they're 2-story up and down with the, as I said, the kitchen, dining, and living on the ground floor, and then a bedrooms upstairs, and there'll be 2 and 3 bedroom units.
Square feet, you know?
So they'll vary from about 1,200 to 1,400 square feet. So they'll be significant. They're larger than the flats because they have the extra area with the internal staircase. So the flats will be more like 700, 900, 1,100 for the 1s, 2s, and 3s, but these will be larger.
Will there be handicap?
Yes, so because this is financed with federal funds, we're required to meet the requirements of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, Section 504, and that will require that we do 5% fully built out handicap wheelchair accessible units and 2% hearing and visually impaired units that have lights and sound for everything. We're going to double that, and we're going to have additional units that are not fully built out but can be easily adapted. And I'm in the process right now of working with the architects of identifying which units on site are going to be the handicap accessible, wheelchair accessible ones. And if you can go back to the site plan for a minute. One thing, I used to be in a wheelchair after an accident, so I understand how challenging it can be. So what I'm trying to do is locate the wheelchair accessible units as close as possible to the parking so that it won't be a problem getting from a van or however you're getting there to your unit. So it's something that I'm really cognizant of, and we're going to make sure that we place them in the best places in the site so that you have those in a way that work. When I was doing this in the beginning of my career in Chicago, there was a guy in charge of handicap accessibility, David Hansen, who was in a wheelchair, and he would tell me what he would like, how he would like them made as convenient as possible, and it's something that I've really internalized, and so we'll be making sure that happens. I just also want to say that all of the other ground floor units will be visitable, so they'll have 0-step entries and the ability to get through the site.
I can't even say I have friends because there's only ramps in front of the apartments that have handicap units. So I can't visit my friends. It's really frustrating,
I know that that's true, and that's not how we build in from the very beginning, the thought of how you can make these visitable, and it's really important to us. Okay, so you're seeing what the buildings look like, and any questions for me on any of this? I do want to say that I have cards with me, and if anybody wants to contact me and make any particular comments they want to make, please take a card from me. You can call me, you can email me, and I'm very much interested in hearing from you and working together with you to make this the best development possible. Okay,
Good afternoon.
thanks.
My question is, as of right now, moving forward with the bigger units, will there be additional bathrooms?
So on the townhome units, we're gonna make sure that there's a half bath downstairs and then and a bath upstairs, so that it will work that way. And the 3 bedrooms will have 2 full baths. And, yeah,
I was wondering, will each unit have a dishwasher?
absolutely. Every unit will have a dishwasher. Yeah, it's really important to design these so that they work with the market, and so we don't look at this as, well, it's not gonna be public housing. We're not looking at this as public housing. This is housing that has to be attractive to everyone. And it's gonna be a mixed income development with people who are gonna be living here with operating subsidy, project-based vouchers, but also people who are paying tax credit rents, which could be, pretty significant rents. So it has to be choice housing. It's not the housing of last resort. This has got to be housing of first resort.
It's gonna have a washer and dryer hookup.
So, good question. Right now, we are designing that there are hookups, so, we have not planned on providing the washers and dryers just yet. We're still working through the financing because it is an expense, but it could be something that a tenant could provide their own and there would be hookups in unit for it.
Okay, another question. Is it gonna be a closed-in community where we have gates and everything?
Yeah, there will not be gated access.
We need that.
Yeah,
I didn't have my window busted, my exhaust pipe took in, my computer took in out of my truck, my hitch on my truck. All of these things have been stolen from me. And
first of all, I'm sorry to hear that, and I appreciate you raising it. It's been a concern that's been raised before. Right now, as I said, we're not planning on having a gated entrance. We are going to have a fully designed security camera system, so a much more robust, modern security camera
We have
system.
security cameras now, but they're not doing nothing. You got all these people on drugs coming through here as a shortcut,
Yes.
going to the store, and they stealing stuff, causing damages. So,
Garbage everywhere.
yeah, all in front, I have to clean up. This is ridiculous. So I feel if you plan on doing all these wonderful things, we should have gated community to stop all this.
I hear you, sir. Thank you. We're taking notes on that. As I said, I can't promise that's going to be a thing. It does add a level of complication to the project, so I don't want to tell you it's gonna happen, but your concerns noted and we will make sure that we discuss it with our architect and the other folks involved in the financing of the project.
So I just want to say this, that we've heard this, we heard this morning also about some of the theft. We heard that somebody's had 2 Harleys stolen from them on site. And I just want to say that when we build a new development and it's a mixed income community, it's not going to be the same community that it is. It's going to be a safer community. Now, that's not going to solve all problems. Absolutely not. But don't think that we're just doing the same thing over again, or else why do it? It's going to be a different day.
I understand that.
But it's not gonna stop the theft and the trash pulling. It's not gonna stop any of that because there's nothing to keep them out.
Again, 90% of us is on a fixed income,
Oh, very fixed.
and we're not able to afford these things or as getting damaged and misplaced and stolen.
Yeah, I don't have money to replace anything I've got stolen either.
So we'll say, I'll stick around after the meeting. I want to make sure we have time to talk through the relocation detail, but I'd be more than happy to connect after the meeting if you had some other concerns.
We have feedback.
And we do also have feedback forms in the packet that was provided, if you want to provide some written feedback. And then, as I said, I want to make sure we have time to talk about relocation, so I'll take one more question and then please come and ask me afterwards. Yes, ma'am?
Yes, what are the porches gonna look like? Are they gonna be better than they are now?
You know what? I don't think we've gotten to the porch design part. It's something that we're still working on, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but that will be something that we can share with folks later on in the process. I appreciate the concern. Awesome. Okay, and like I said, I'm JD. I'll be around. Please come talk with me and we can, if you have some other ideas or concerns around the project in terms of design, And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Housing to Home and they can talk about the
I
relocation.
just want to ask one thing. I'd like to take some pictures of people here. Does anybody object to being in a picture? Okay, thanks.
Way up this screen. Hello, how is everybody feeling so far with everything you've heard?
Confused.
Confused? Okay, that's, I mean, that's understandable. Anybody else? No, all of that is understandable. Every single thing, this has to do with your home, and we try to be really sensitive with that because your home is one of the hardest things to mess up, I guess. As we're moving you around and we're shuffling you around and it's gonna be stressful and that's what we're here for and here to help you with that.
The moving is the problem and shuffling, it's a lack of information.
We're gonna get through that even more just now and hopefully that will answer a lot of those concerns that you have. One thing that I'm gonna ask is that we wait until the end for any questions because we might have them answered in the presentation. So just write it down. If I see you raise your hand, I'll make note of it mentally and try to come back to you on those questions. If you want to go to the next slide. So I'm Willow Dion. I am the senior relocation manager for Nevada, Washington State, and California. Then I also have these two lovely ladies with me here. This is Sabrina and this is Yasmin. They are the on-site housing to home team for Hawkview. Sabrina is going to be the point for Hawkview and Yasmin is going to be a backup for Hawkview. So they'll both be here in Reno to support you full time. Office hours will be Monday through Friday. We've already heard a little bit of an update on construction, relocation process. We're going to go over more of the relocation process, question and answers, and next steps with all of you. So Housing to Home is a national organization. We are all over the US. It was founded by Hannah and Katie, which are here. I know you all, or most of you all, if you made it to the last meetings, had met Katie before. She's great. She just unfortunately couldn't make it here today. We wish she could. Hannah and Katie, it's a woman business enterprise. So it's a woman-owned business. It has been an amazing place to work, if I do say so myself. It's we very much care for our residents and our mission, which is going to be on this next slide here. Our biggest priority is always going to be the residents. Our jobs are to make sure this is as smooth as possible because we know that it's hard in the best way that we can. It's not happening to us, but we do see it happen every day. So we try to make it as smooth as possible while also working with our clients to make sure it's running smoothly and as possible on their end, because that will reflect on you all if everything's not going smooth. So we try to do everything nice and smooth and easy as possible. Here's just a little slide to put a face to a name. Sabrina is here. She's the relocation manager. She'll be on site for Hawkview Monday through Friday. Yasmin is on site for Hawkview as of right now. She will be moving to a different site, but she still will be reachable and helpful to all of you. And then I am senior relocation manager based in Seattle, Washington. So we try to include everybody in the relocation process that you would want or need. So one of the first steps we do is a one-on-one meeting with each household and each resident. If you want to have your friends, family, anyone there that helps and makes you feel more comfortable for those one-on-ones, we absolutely want you to do that. We want you to bring your best friend. We want you to bring your mom, your dad, whoever it is that helps you feel comfortable. We want you to bring them for this process. We also want to make sure that everything is translated for you. So if you need something translated to a different language, you'll talk about that in a one-on-one assessment, and we will make sure that all your notices from here on out get translated for you. One of the big things we need in that process is going to be an emergency contact for every single resident. The reason being is it has to do with your housing, and if we can't get a hold of you, we need to find somebody else who can. We need to contact them. see if they know where you're at, so we can make sure that you know what's going on with your home. So this is just next steps in the relocation process. The first and foremost was the general information notice, or the GIN. You all received that in March of 2023. If you want another copy or need another copy, just let us know. We're happy to get you one. Next step would be the on-site relocation team, which they have started on-site as of March. So we do have them on-site in one of the vacant units. It's on the intro letter that you all had passed out. They have them up at the front. We can get you another one. So we're meeting with residents now. If you want to schedule one-on-one, or you have more questions after this that you don't want to share with the group, you're welcome to schedule another one-on-one. If you want to get a one-on-one scheduled today, just stick around after and we will make sure we get one scheduled for you. I'll get back to you, okay? After that is gonna be a combined notice of eligibility and 90-day notice to vacate. That's the one that kind of scares people a little bit because it's saying it's time to go. But with that comes all of the assistance from Housing to Home. So it comes with a comparable housing, which we have taken into account based off of your needs that we went over in your assessment. So all of that's gonna be next steps for the relocation. We're also gonna go over Section 8 voucher, but I'm actually gonna leave that for this lovely lady over here. Lastly, we will help you reconnect your services. So your Wi-Fi, your cable, your phone, whatever it is that you need to get transferred over to your new home, we will make sure it gets transferred over for you. We'll get your change of address filed and we'll help you with all of that. So we also provide advisory and counseling services. So that means if you are needing 15 to 20 minutes to come and complain about something, we're here. You can come complain to us because we already know this is hard enough as it is. So we try to have us available for other circumstances, just to vent a little bit to our on-site staff. And I went over notifications a little bit. We're gonna go over them again. I believe it's the next slide, so we'll just move on. We'll get back to that. So the next options next thing we're gonna discuss is the moving options for you all. There are two kinds of moving assistance when it comes to permanent relocation. The first and foremost is gonna be an agency move. So that means that a licensed, bonded, and insured moving company is hired at no expense to you. So a moving company would come in, move all of your stuff to your new home for you. The other option is going to be a flat moving rate that you would receive a reimbursement for after you have moved. That depends on your household size. So if you have questions about that, come back to us. I personally, for permanent relocation, would recommend that you do the agency move if it's possible for you. It's easier, it's smoother, and ends up working out better for you in the future. I promise you, it's a little smoother. But we'll be here to guide you through all of that. So here's all the notices that I was talking about. General information notice, which you've already received. The Housing to Home intro letter, which you all should have already received as well. And then after that, it's going to be the 90-day notice and notice of eligibility. That's going to be a combined notice, not two different ones. So it'll be one notice you will all get with one comparable housing option on it. Those you will all start receiving very soon, end of April, beginning of May. And then very, very last notice you're going to get is your 30-day notice to move. So that one you will get 30 days, at least 30 days before your move date. We do try to give it to you a little earlier so you're prepared. All right, so next steps. This is the most important one because so many people want to go home and pack up right away. They're like, I've got to move. I need to start packing. Please do not start packing yet. You do not need to start packing. We're here to help with the packing assistance and letting you know when it's time to do those next steps. We also help get boxes and packing supplies for you, so you don't need to start packing as of right now. Assessments have already started, so you're welcome to come meet with on-site staff and do your assessment. Well, again, if you want to schedule that, just stop by, stop one of us and at the end of the meeting and we'll get one scheduled with you. We'll also help you find your relocation unit. So as I mentioned, there is a comparable on your 90-day notice. You do not have to move to that comparable that's listed there. That's not something you're interested in. We can help you find what will work for you and your family. We're gonna always try to communicate everything to you. Reno Housing Authority has done an amazing job with communicating all of their information over to you. And we're gonna be doing the same any step of the way, any changes, we're gonna make sure we communicate that out to all residents. All right, we can go ahead and take questions. I know I saw one over here.
So I did go to the unit for questions and they couldn't give me answers. I was supposed to come to the meeting. I
Okay.
haven't done assessments, I haven't done anything.
Okay, we'll schedule your assessment and we'll reevaluate that for you. You should have been able to have a meeting with on-site
Yeah,
staff.
it's like.
It could have been a contradicting reason, you never know, but we'll make sure we get it rescheduled and get your questions answered. Yes.
Yeah, so, my mother and I both disabled,
Mhm.
and so our main concern are these a few items, that we would require. But we haven't appointed with the applicant, so I'm assuming that we can talk about that on a one-on-one basis.
Yes,
On Friday.
yes, that's
Okay,
perfect. Yes,
so-
perfect.
It was mentioned that there was a list of housing that was available that was going to be ran through, and that if we wanted to see the list to pre-check the housing, we could ask for it.
We do not have a list like that. We just have a comparable housing list, which is very, very vague and does not give you like unit size, unit number. It just says vacancies within the Reno area, which you could also just look up online if you wanted to. But we do not have a list like that.
Sorry, sir, are you referring to like a list of like other affordable housing options or things like that?
Maybe.
Oh, anything additional like that would also be helpful.
And there's resources that Housing Authority has that list properties. The challenge that Willow was talking about is, that's not a guarantee that there's an available unit at that property, but it's a list of properties that you might be able to take a look at, like, oh, it looks interesting, I want to go learn more. It just wouldn't tell you the current vacancies there. But we can make sure that that information is shared with Housing to Home so that you have that as additional resource.
So, the notice is coming out between April and May, so the Monday thing, are we still paying rent?
Yes, continue to pay rent as usual.
I think it's really critical. You can pay rent, that's something that's dependent.
Yes, keep paying your rent because it will come back to bite you if you don't. I promise you. Over here.
Exactly how much relocation assistance to be provided?
That depends on the household, so you're gonna have to do your one-on-one assessment and meet with on-site staff and wait for your 90-day eligibility notice as well. That's gonna provide more of that information. I can't say exactly what it would be because it's just gonna be different for every person. Yes.
Oh,
Can you speak to the idea of portability, explain it to everybody and whom we could work with at RHA or Housing at Home to research specifically supporting our voucher?
Yes, so this lovely lady over here is gonna go over the vouchers later today, right after we're done answering questions, actually. Perfect point of contact for any voucher questions as well when it comes to RHA team. Jamie.
Some people are prepared to leave. And they said there would be dumpsters, so we can get rid of things that we don't want to take to our new apartment. When is that going to be on site?
We're figuring out the coordination for that. We were asked that question this morning. We're just figuring out coordination for when that's gonna happen. Residents all will receive a notice when that is to occur. So you'll get another notice saying there's something on site for you to start removing trash or furniture or whatever it might be that you want to get rid of. Any other questions? Yes, David.
This is actually a combination question and suggestion directed to Reno Housing Authority folks. Everybody's been really helpful. My suggestion is, might possibly make it more helpful. When you're looking at the available material that the Housing Authority printout that's online. It's pretty comprehensive. However, here's the problem. The information is here, it's there, and so the footnote here, a footnote there. My suggestion is to please print up a comprehensive listing of all sources. That doesn't mean the list of housing, it means the website or whatever it is that you would look at, because they're all over the place right now. In fact, I was here in the morning and JD was kind enough to point out that there is a source of housing that I didn't even know about. And I've been here for 30 years. I should know that. So that's my suggestion to, Housing Authority folks, if you could please put together, it would be helpful, not just for Hawkview, but for yourself too. It's going to eliminate the questions. One comprehensive listing of where you could find all the housing options.
I can't speak to that for the RHA team. I do know that Housing to Home in regards to relocation will have a frequently asked question form drafted for all of you to reference as needed. And also come to us with questions, but I will leave that comment for the Reno Housing Authority themselves. You can.
No, I appreciate the feedback, David. It's something that we've heard your concern and we have.
Microphone, please.
Thank you for the feedback, David. We've heard your concern and we'll be in touch with resources as we have already, but if I find that comprehensive list, I will provide it for you, but in the meantime, I'm gonna keep providing the best information that we have.
Yes, over here. Security deposit is a discussion with management.
If you don't have the unit. Yes.
Right over here?
Will everyone get the movie notice at the same time?
No.
Okay.
No, you will not. We don't want to have like all 30 people moving on the same day. That's just chaos for everyone. So no, you will not get them on the same day.
Is that correct? Yeah.
The relocate construction is set to begin in September. Your 90-day notice, which will also go out in phases, will determine when you need to be vacated. So that depends on your phase on when you're going to be leaving. So we'll reference back to that eligibility and 90-day notice for you. Yes, David.
Speaking of the relocation, what has been previously stated on the record and in writing by Reno Housing Authority is that we will have 5 months starting from the time that Housing to Home folks are here doing the relocation. So there's a concern because less than 5 months, it could be very problematic, and we hope that they will keep to their promise that we have 5 months before the construction is gonna be problematic.
Thanks, David. So Housing Home started meeting with folks in March. So with the construction starting in September, it's actually about 5.5 to 6 months of relocation efforts that folks will have at this project.
Any other questions on relocation before we get to the vouchers? Yes.
So. I remember last meeting, they, for the people that's trying to leave out of Nevada, you guys still, it's still no help with boxing, right?
So there is relocation available if you are wanting to move out of the state. That's a one-on-one conversation. And I'd be happy to chat with you after the meeting if that's something you're interested in. Majority of people are likely gonna stay in the area, so I think we just leave that for a one-on-one conversation with households that are interested. Any of these questions? Okay, great. I'm gonna pass it over to Jamie.
Oh, I've all never.
Feel so honored. Everyone was so excited to hear from me. For the record, it's Jamie Neufeld. I am the director of the Rental Assistance Department at the Reno Housing Authority. Basically, I'm in charge of our voucher programs. So I'm here today, like JD was saying, to kind of give a voucher 101. Because like, sorry, Willow, was gonna say Hannah, like Willa was saying, vouchers are going to play a role in relocation and wanted to have everyone to have at least some base layer information about vouchers, how they work, how they're different from public housing. So you have that when you're going into the assessments with housing to home, and you can decide if that's going to be the right fit for your family. So just real quick agenda, what I'm going to talk about, some quick voucher program basics, highlighting those differences from public housing, talk briefly about next steps, and then answer any questions. And taking a page from Willa's book, if we could try and keep all the questions to the end, that would be great. I did try and answer as many of them as possible during the presentation, so. Some of our voucher program basics. Voucher size. Is based on the number of people in your household, very much like the occupancy standard in public housing. So it's based on the ages of the members of your household and the relationship to that head of household. We do not take gender into consideration when we're coming up with that voucher size. The difference with the voucher program is that you have the ability to rent a unit that is larger or smaller than that voucher size that you are assigned. So if we say, based on the number of people in your household, you're entitled to a 2-bedroom voucher, but you find a 3-bedroom unit, you actually would still be able to rent that as long as it fits within your budget, affordable and reasonable, and all the things that we're going to talk about later. So you do have that flexibility and that choice to rent outside of that voucher size. Oh, sorry, rushing on there. Thank you. Pete not having a clicker. The budget for your voucher is based on your household income, and that is set up. Oh, sure. Sorry. I feel so shouty when I have a microphone. So the voucher for your budget, the budget for your voucher, try that again. It ensures that you and your household will be paying between 30 to 40% of your income towards your rent and utilities. But that is a range, 30 to 40%. And that range allows you to have choice in the unit that you're selecting. So you are able to select a larger unit or a unit with more amenities in a different neighborhood of town, things like that, because you're able to choose to pay more of your income towards that rent and utilities. So again, giving you that choice in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Again, selection, you can select a unit within Washoe County, and we're going to talk about affordability next, that meets your family's specific needs, as long as the rent for that unit is affordable. Affordable is specific to your family. It means it's related to that budget we just talked about. And it's making sure that you're going to be paying that 30 to 40%. The rent also has to be reasonable. So the rent that the landlord is charging needs to be similar to what other units in that same neighborhood are going to be charged, that they're not trying to charge you more just because you have a voucher. The unit also has to pass an inspection, and no one in the household can be related to the owner. As long as those qualifications are being met, you can choose the unit that's going to work best for your family. My example is always that I desperately need air conditioning. So I would have to be looking for a unit with central air, but you can be looking for a unit with larger modern kitchen appliances, larger bedrooms, flexible room spaces like dens and things like that. You can choose what those things are that matter the most when you're selecting the unit. Portability. Someone already has been doing their research on this. You also have the ability to take your rental assistance outside of Washoe County to any housing authority that administers a voucher program. If you're looking on HUD's website, they still list it as Section 8, even though we try and call it a Housing Choice Voucher. So that may allow you to make the choice to move to another part of the country to be closer to family, or employment opportunities, or medical opportunities, to be able to move outside of Washoe County where you have been here. And unlike if you were to have come up on the Housing Choice Voucher waiting list, the ability to take your voucher portable is available immediately upon issuance for a fee relocation. You do not have to wait for a certain period of time like standard voucher issuance for the HCV program. So with the voucher program, just like with public housing, you do have to recertify either once every year or once every 3 years, depending on the income, in your household, if it's considered stable. But we would send you all of the information before that is due. Right now, we are doing those via mail, but by the time the next recertification is due, we could be doing it electronically, things like that. But again, it's very much the same as you're doing right now in public housing. If your household does have a change between those regular recertifications, you do have to report it in writing to us within 30 calendar days of the date of the change. And we will say that again when we get to the differences with public housing, because I know that's another big one. Your unit would be inspected prior to move-in and then every 2 years thereafter, as long as you remain in that same unit. You, the landlord, and the housing authority can also do special inspections between those regular inspections in case we have any sort of concerns. So if you're saying the landlord's not keeping up on their maintenance, if they have concerns that you're not keeping up on the unit, or if the housing authority had any concern, we can conduct special inspections between those 2 years. But otherwise, those are the inspections that would be conducted through the voucher program. At the end of your 1-year lease, you have some options. You can decide with the landlord to stay month to month or sign a new lease. Both options are perfectly acceptable in the voucher program. Your landlord may decide to increase your contract rent, at which point you may have your portion of the rent increase. It all depends on where your family is at with the income and in relation to payment standards. That we can get very deep into the weeds on how those calculations get, which we don't want to do in here. But if you end up going down the voucher path with relocation, we do a briefing and we get far deeper into those things. But know that that's an option at the end of the lease. You can stay there and they may or may not choose to increase the contract rent, and it may or may not increase your portion of the rent. You can also decide at the end of that lease that you may want to move somewhere else. You may have found that your family has different needs. Maybe your family composition has changed and you find that you need something different in a unit. You have the ability to take that rental assistance with you to another unit within Washoe County, or decide that maybe at that point you want to go portable somewhere else. Again, Housing Choice Voucher Program, you have a lot of that flexibility to be able to keep that rental assistance going with you. Highlight some differences from public housing, because again, it is a very different program in some aspects. First thing, very important that we want to highlight. If your household includes someone who is 18 to 20 years old and their income is currently being excluded in the public housing program, we do not have that in the voucher program. So their income would be included in your calculation of the rent. Again, that's if you have someone who is 18 to 20 years old and their income is being excluded while you're in public housing, it would be included in your calculation of the rent in the voucher program. That's one of the things that's to be considered while you're looking at whether or not the voucher program is the right choice for your family. Another difference with the voucher program is that if your income increases to the point that you are able to pay the full contract rent using that 30 to 40% that HUD allows you to use, then HUD considers you to be self-sufficient. If you continue to be able to pay the full contract rent, your income stays stable or even increases, and you are able to do that for 12 months, you are moved off of the voucher program and no longer on rental assistance at that point. However, what we offer is what we call a program completion escrow. So if you've increased your income, you are able to be self-sufficient paying that contract rent for 12 months. At the end of that, we are able to give an escrow amount, a check, for 15% of the contract rent for the time that you were paying that full contract rent up to 12 months to kind of give you a little nest egg, a little cushion for the fact that you maintain that self-sufficiency and have moved off of rental assistance. So again, a difference from public housing, there's no flat rent option where you're able to certify and stay at that amount despite the increases in income. Other differences that we've already spoken to, but I just want to flag them one more time. Again, you have the ability to move from one unit to the other, both within and outside of Washoe County, and maintain your housing assistance. You are no longer required to stay within the same unit that you have always been at. And again, reporting requirements. With the voucher program, you have 30 calendar days from the date of the change to report it to us in writing. Next steps. really at this point, if you haven't already, you will be meeting with Housing to Home. I agree. You'll be meeting with Housing to Home to talk about the specifics of your family's income, family composition, and really look at what is the right choice for your family for relocation. Like I said, there's some differences between public housing and vouchers. And a voucher is not going to be the right choice for every family. So being able to really take a good look at that and make those decisions. After that, once we.
Sorry.
No, you're okay. After that, once we know the families that are going to be choosing the voucher, we would then look at scheduling a briefing so that way we can begin issuing those vouchers and getting the paperwork needed to come over to our program. And with that, where are questions?
So random question, is section 8 the same as your voucher?
Yes, yes.
So if I get a promotion and I'm overqualified for section 8, I'm next out of the voucher option?
Sorry, dry mouth. Are you talking before?
So
Like,
I guess my
immediately now?
name had just showed up on the list and they interviewed me and now they say I'm overqualified.
Oh, okay.
So how does that work?
So there are income requirements, and I'm not sure they're factoring in the coming up on the wait list.
Yeah, so they said my name, I was still on the wait list.
Maybe we'll chat after.
Okay.
I mean,
But everybody was still gonna chat later, I don't know who reaches out.
Well, we can chat like immediately later. Okay. Let me, so I can look it up on my phone and see kind of the situation that's going on, because I'm not sure all the details with the timing, because
They just interviewed me last week.
we also want to be sure the difference between coming up on the wait list and what we're talking about right now. So if we can connect literally right after this meeting,
Oh, thank you.
I will not drive away. I'll tell you which one my car is. Other voucher questions? Yes, David.
It's actually a two-part question.
Okay.
Actually, a few-part question. The first question is, I didn't hear your name, and how do we contact you if we need?
Absolutely. My name is Jamie Neufeld.
I'm sorry, what?
Jamie, Jamie.
And your contact number, Jamie?
So my email would be jneufelt, Newfelt,
F as in Frank,
Frank, yes.
what comes after
ELT, like new felt on a
that?
floor.
I'll catch you later on that.
Perfect.
My question is, when we have a voucher
Yeah.
and we're looking for a place, we are told that we can't use the voucher in a relative's home. Now, my question for that, Jamie, is that a federal law? We can't do that, or is that a housing authority policy? And why not?
That is a very good question. So that actually is a federal, that is not just an RHA policy. That is part of the federal statutes, though I cannot quote you exactly the Code of Federal Regulations right now, but it is part of HUD's regulations on that. I'd be happy to get you the actual specifics. And just to circle back, you're more than welcome to my email, but to the point I think JD was making earlier, if you can use the HB project email, the hbproject@renoha.org, that gets disseminated. So if it's a voucher question, it still comes to me. But it allows us to get that information on what questions are being asked, so we can then tailor this information if the same question's getting asked over and over again. So if we could use the HB project, that's fantastic.
I have met with Housing to Home, but no information was given as if I were to be eligible for a voucher, or by when I would find that information out.
Do we have a time frame, Lulu, on when we'll know?
About your voucher eligibility, and so we also know about your notice of eligibility. So you should be hearing about those at the same time.
Could you repeat that in the mic or louder? Please.
Your notice of eligibility and your voucher come hand in hand. So you'll know more about what's going on with a voucher for you at the same time that you get that notice of eligibility.
And when we do receive that notice, are we gonna set up a separate meeting to meet with you guys again, to see about the unit that you guys present as something that we want to start or how?
So comparable, the one housing option that's listed on the 90-day notice is called the comparable or comparable unit. It does not have to be the unit that you move into. And it does not have to be what your voucher covers. Your voucher is yours. That's the cool thing about these type of vouchers is it's yours. And it's a lot more flexible than some of the other voucher options or housing options. So it's gonna depend on each household individually. And I hate to say that because it's just the same thing over and over again, but it really just depends on every single person independently.
So Bill, like, when you were in a one-on-one meeting, you're not determining at that point and stating these are what your options will be. You're just gathering that information.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we're just getting information. We're also determining who is priority for moving, because some people might need to, as a couple people have mentioned, they might already have a housing option and they're just waiting for that notice. And so they might have a little more priority over someone who's like, no, I can wait until the last group of people to move. They might have more priority than another person. So it really is just independent on each household.
And then just to clarify, the information you gather is then part of what we're determining if you're eligible for the vouchers. And that those next steps from there.
Yes, correct.
That is when housing go home. And they show that nothing is gonna happen, no home will receive until I get my voucher. But the voucher is supposed to come from the main office.
So we are not the voucher holder, so we don't give out vouchers. We're just helping coordinate with the office and RHA about those vouchers.
And so maybe what I can clarify is that some of you have come up on the voucher wait list just as natural attrition has happened through the voucher program. So you come up on that wait list outside and separate of relocation and anything that's happening here at Hawkview. And so if you come up in that way, we're following our standard HUD guidelines. They don't have anything to do with relocation.
I'm just confused on how that would really make a difference if this place is being torn down in like a couple months.
So the difference between with HUD and what our requirements are in managing a wait list. So if somebody, we didn't have the option to say, hey, these people came up on the wait list, this was their time to be interviewed, but said, they're Hawkview, we're gonna pass them over, that would have been a big no-no on our part.
Yeah.
We couldn't pass people over, knowing that we would be doing relocation. We had to follow the procedure that we normally have for anyone on the wait list. We do have some people in this situation. And so we can look at the situation and see what's happening and decide what's the best option for you.
We also have to provide certain notices under relocation, and so we can't trigger some of those processes until those notices.
Do we have any more questions? Any more questions from anybody? I feel
What makes someone eligible or ineligible for the voucher? That I can't.
Keep looking right into that, like. Right. I can kind of see it there. Quite all right. So, one of the things that is being taken into consideration, one of the things that I kind of pointed out there is whether your household has those maybe 18 to 20-year-olds in there that has income excluded, looking at income qualifications to make sure if you're, say, maybe paying flat rent, and forgive me, I'm not public housing, so if I say it wrong, Kristen, feel free to just smack me. Thank you. Throw something at me. So if you're paying flat rent in public housing because maybe your income has increased, that whether or not that would, I hate to use the word disqualify you, but make it so that your income would not be compatible with the voucher program, like I talked about with full contract rent and those guidelines. So taking all of that into consideration, if that would be a good fit for your household.
Thinking about the income levels that are on the Regional Housing Authority website, there's like low income, It's 3 levels.
Very low, very low, extremely low.
If we're between the second and the third one, for chances are would we be eligible?
Off the top of my head, I can't say for sure because I'd have to look at the household size and the effect that it would have. So that's definitely a great question for those individual assessments and for us to dive into on a more personal level. Yeah, but we can connect on that. You're welcome.
So if we are deemed ineligible, what options do we have?
So there are definitely still relocation options outside of just the voucher program. The Housing Authority has their own units available. Again, I'm here for our voucher units, but the Housing Authority still has some of their own units available for relocation that will also work perfectly for households that may not tailor well to a voucher. So there are definitely relocation options outside of the voucher for when those don't match up perfectly. I think JD wants to talk on that one.
Now, and one thing I would add is, right, you're in the public housing program right now, and you may choose that it's a better fit for your family to stay in the same program. And there could be available units at other public housing sites that you could be able to transfer to as your relocation. And then you wouldn't take a voucher, you would just transfer to a different property, in which some of these things that might make you ineligible for the voucher wouldn't be a factor in the transfer to a different public housing site. So that's one example. There's a couple of others. Again, it's really kind of on a those ones get a little bit complicated and it's on a case by case basis. But the assessment helps determine that. The information you shared in the assessment will help us figure out, here's the options and the strategy for the household. And once we have all that information, that's something that will be communicated with you.
If someone was able to report to another housing authority in one meeting in like this type of unit, should they still be able to report and be in a housing unit, housing authority unit, than Section 8 unit?
So the portability would only work for the voucher program and for Section 8. The public housing program doesn't have a portability option. So you could do potentially do a public housing transfer here at Reno Housing Authority, but not outside to another agency. You're welcome. David.
So I was here at the first session, and not to be redundant, but people who have not yet looked to see who might take their voucher on the list of the HCVs, I randomly picked 15. Nobody wants to take a Section 8 voucher. My question is, to counteract the hatred many private housing units have against Section 8 people with vouchers, besides getting a letter of reference from our Huckview manager and other things of that nature, what suggestions do you have when we go out hunting for a place to stay in a private home who does not want to accept the Section 8 voucher because they have been totally decimated by some few unfortunate people that have made it look bad for everybody else? And they're bringing their boyfriend who's a doper or a drunk or a gang member, and they leave the place in shambles. How do we counteract that?
Thank you actually for asking that question again, because I do appreciate the opportunity to talk about that. So we actually, at the Reno Housing Authority, have seen with the voucher program a shift with our landlords where we aren't seeing the dramatic issues that we used to be having. There will always be landlords who have questions and concerns about the voucher program. One of the great things that we have brought on over the last couple of years at the Housing Authority is our landlord liaison. Her entire job is to work with our landlords to answer their questions. If maybe it's a new landlord, they've never worked with a voucher before, to help kind of guide them through that process, make them feel supported. For our existing landlords, if they have any issues, any questions, any concerns, to be able to help them work through those to maintain that relationship. So that way, when they have that one bad apple, it doesn't spoil it for everyone else, that they will continue to rent to voucher clients. We also offer some additional incentives that we've been instituting over the last several years that we have found have really helped with our landlord retention, including additional assistance payments after move out in several cases, mostly related to move outs that aren't caused by the landlord, that are outside their control, as well as when some damages are caused above and beyond ordinary wear and tear. So we've created these incentives And it's actually something that we're continuing to build, in our current moving to work plan that we're getting, approval for right now. We have additional incentives that we're doing because it's something that we always kind of have our eye on and our ear out for, to make sure that we are keeping the program as attractive as possible, to help with getting those vouchers utilized and those units leased. So it is definitely something that we are constantly working towards.
Additionally, with that, housing to home, that's part of our job, is to make sure we do that search for you, where we know who's going to take that voucher and we know who's is willing to work with that voucher. That's one of the big things that we do, because you're right, there are some people who are not willing to work with a voucher. And so that's a huge priority when it comes to relocation within income restricted areas and homes. Yes, David.
You have the contact information of the person who's the housing authority liaison.
I didn't grab her extension when I was at the
I'm
office.
sorry, please on the microphone.
I know you asked it earlier and I did not remember to grab it before I came to this meeting, but I can get that for you. I can easily email it to you with that CFR that you were asking about.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions about the voucher program or anything any of us folks are happy to answer for you?
Yeah, I want to say something.
Absolutely.
I just want to say, I'm seeing here today that a lot of us are confused by the process here. And this is a very complicated process and it involves several agencies to make it all work, which can be very confusing for us that are familiar with the program. It's important that you review the Housing Authority City of Reno's 2024 Moving to Work Annual Plan, as it is intended to provide public housing residents with pertinent information on that RHA's implemented activities. It can be found on Reno Housing Authority's website, and it contains 186 pages of information, along with amendments and changes in their plan. What else did I say here? Says for those of you that don't have access to the internet, we have a computer lab now, where you can review that information, okay? What else was I gonna say? If you have any issues or any grievances or that you feel aren't being resolved here, you can also contact Lauren Song. She's a senior staff attorney at Housing Law Project, and she's in the process of rewriting the new HUD RADs and rules and regulations. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
One thing for you as well is that housing to home is the first point of contact for residents. So if you have a question and you're not sure where it goes or who you're going to ask, the first person to go to and a good person to go to is going to be the housing to home on-site staff. Because if they don't know, or if they know that's a Reno Housing Authority question, they can point you in the right direction for that. Or they can find the answer for you.
If it's not being resolved here, you can always go there.
Yes, absolutely. But I just want to, I heard that. Yes, you
Yeah.
do 100%. I just heard that. I wanted to expand a little on who the
Yeah, and I did
resident should
hear,
contact.
well, I did hear who the contact, but who you said the contact, but it
Yeah.
wasn't, grievances. It wasn't specific.
Yeah, yes. Do we have any other questions? David, yes.
Do you know any
So you have a lady over here that mentioned that there's a housing attorney, I think her name is Laura Strong. If need be, how would one get in touch with that person? Are they in Reno?
I'm not sure about that.
Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar. It sounds like your neighbor over here might have more of the contact information, but referring to the housing attorney,
No, what was the question?
he was asking about the contact information for the housing attorney.
Yeah.
How to spell the last name?
SONG,
You know what city she's in?
San Francisco, California.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, I really appreciate everyone taking the time. Again, if you haven't, please take advantage of having all the housing and home team here, connect with them, get something set up. And it looks like we have one more question. Really good. That she was wondering. Yeah, thank you for raising that issue.
If you cannot, for accessibility reasons, make it to the office, then just call or text or email the line and the housing to home staff will come to you.
Thank you all, and have a good rest of your evening.